Hello. I'm told to speak loud into this. So I'm here to talk about a consumer experiment that I've undertaken called the Consumer Reconnection Project. I'm going to start by how I got here, and inevitably the first question is always why. As a student at SVA, I began getting interested in the choices we have versus the choices that we make as consumers. I created a magazine focused on criticism of global corporations, sweeping marketing campaigns, unconscious consumption. And although the intention was always to find alternatives and to highlight people and organizations that were doing something unique and making deliberate choices in what they consumed and produced, rather than just be critical, I didn't seem to know how to do that. It seemed easier to be critical. Kraft is owned by the same company that owns Philip Morris, and Walmart beheading Toys R Us, and Starbucks kills the coffee house. But I always wanted to do, the next thing I wanted to do was always something positive, and I never found that. 3 years passed, and I was getting antsy to create something else, but was struggling to find that voice. So I decided to take a year creating my own content. I was going to see if this lifestyle that I was advocating was viable. Basically, could I not be a hypocrite? Could I do something that made me hyper-conscious of everything that I bought? So first I thought, what if I only buy things that are made locally? But what if I needed something, a computer part or something that just wasn't made here? And plus there was already the locavore movement that was already doing this. So I said, what if I only buy things that are made in small quantities, nothing mass-produced? But all I could picture was artisanal handcrafted shoes, and I knew that wasn't going to really work for me. So what I came up with was a plan that would let me theoretically buy anything that I wanted to, as long as I did the research. I would only buy something if I could trace it back to an individual that was part of the production process, someone who worked to bring that object to the marketplace. It's so easy to walk into a store and just kind of assume that everything there just appeared there so that I could buy it. But I was going to force myself to know at least some of the backstory of everything that I bought. So keeping in the tone of the first magazine, I called it the Consumer Reconnection Project. I started a blog, as it looks like everybody else in the room has. So I felt like I had something to hold me accountable, and so I'd have a record of the whole thing after the year was over, and kind of figure out what the arc was, what did I learn along the way. So the first stop, I drove to Kentucky to visit the Maker's Mark distillery. Priorities, what I needed to buy. And I wandered off the tour. I met a guy named Jude who rolls empty barrels from the warehouse into the cistern where they're filled and then rolls the full barrels back to the warehouse. A job that nobody even thinks that job exists, and here's somebody who does it every day. I joined, that was like 28 hours of driving in 3 days. I joined the Park Slope Food Co-op, where I was able to meet truck drivers and produce buyers who get the food into my hands. This is a guy named Jay, who's an ex-rock star from LA and now drives a truck for a farm. I drove to Vermont to visit the Harlow Brothers Farm, which is one of the co-op suppliers. Just me with the cabbage and a cow. It's really been fun when the people that I meet get excited about what I'm doing, and they open up other opportunities for me. I met an owner of a coffee shop in Fort Greene called Urban Spring. And he told me about this guy that he buys his coffee from, a guy named Harold, who started roasting beans in his apartment. So I met Harold, and he thought that this was just such a cool thing. And when he found out that one of the farmers that he gets his coffee from Nicaragua, was coming to town, he called me up, and I was able to go and meet her and learn all about this farm that she runs in Nicaragua, and she told me about her family and her granddaughter who likes butterflies and all sorts of cool stuff. There was a similar friend of a friend connection that introduced me to Emmanuel Boyer, who grew up on a vineyard in France, still works at his family winery, selling La Croix Belle here in the States. So now I have whiskey and wine and beer from Brooklyn Brewery, if anybody's keeping track of what I can drink. I learned that it's the smaller, socially conscious, environmentally conscious companies that are more willing to deal with me in my odd requests. You know, when I call up, nobody knows, is this a customer service issue? Is this a PR request? What is it? Who do they forward me to? But two companies that are sort of on the cusp of mass production that were interested in what I was doing were Tom's of Maine, drove up there, whose factories are really rival Willy Wonka. It was pretty crazy. Everything from hair dryers that blow the bubbles off the deodorant sticks, just gigantic vats of toothpaste. It's they wouldn't let me bring cameras inside. It's also, in doing this presentation, I realized I only wear brown t-shirts. I don't know what's up with that. And also seventh generation, whose social practices were as impressive as their famously ecological progressive practices. I was also in LA, that should be a brown t-shirt. I was also in LA meeting with the guys at Good magazine who have been extremely supportive of this. So while I was there, I was able to make a visit to the American Apparel factory downtown. And I wasn't actually able to speak to any of the line workers, mainly just because I don't speak Spanish, and not any other reason, but they gave me a 2-hour tour, explained everything about their manufacturing process, how everything in the entire company from from senior management to product development to graphic designers to the sewers, everybody is located in this one building. Kind of things get built as they move up to the top floor, and then they need to move the finished products off the top floor somehow. But that was extremely impressive to see the way the company works and to learn that they pay and treat their workers extremely well. They're very active in legalizing or immigration reform, and they have a practice called Legalize LA that they're heavily involved with. This is 6 months into the project. This is a representation of all the types of objects and the products that I've been able to track back and make personal connections to. The biggest challenge has definitely been food. I buy all my food at the co-op, but my boyfriend and I are getting pretty tired of burritos from the one Mexican place we've made connections to, so definitely some more restaurants this fall are in order. And this represents objects that I have not been able to make connections with yet. No shorts, no jeans, no new sneakers. I'm still wearing last fall's boots, which are about to become back in season. No new music, and some companies up here representing like Brooklyn Industries I've made some communication with, and then they were part of that family of companies that just didn't know what to do with me and kind of just dropped me. Some of the bigger companies, Apple, I have a feeling I'm having trouble getting into their manufacturing plants. But we'll see. That's a shower curtain liner up there. If anybody knows anybody who makes shower curtains, I could really use a new one. But basically what this brings me to is, what have I learned this far in? Where do I see this going? Is this lifestyle really viable? Can you be this conscious of everything you buy? I would say that what I'm learning is not to this extreme for very long, not in tracking back everything probably, and not only buying, like I said, I will need a new pair of shoes at some point. But I have learned that it is possible to know something about most things that you buy, and just paying more attention. It's even 6 months in, I can tell you this is something that I'm not ever going to be able to stop doing. And I've also learned that cost and carbon footprint, or how green something they're not the only determining factors in something's value and in something's sustainability. And another effect of this project is that I've become aware of everything that I produce as well. I'm a graphic designer, and as I apply this thing to the rest of my life, I think about what is it that I'm buying and where is this stuff going. What am I making and where is this stuff going? I've decided to leave corporate life, start my own studio called Sheepless, continue working on my projects and work with social and cultural organizations affecting positive change. I hope you'll check it out. Thanks.